What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today, Bravo 6 has gone in dark. Today, Infinity Ward has stepped the F up. Today, Modern Warfare 2019 Activision Super Special Edition looks like the best Call of Duty in what feels like forever ever. Of course, I had and still have some doubts about it. This is Activision we're talking about, and Call of Duty doesn't have the shiniest track record. But this multiplayer reveal has, and I don't say this lightly, blown me away, Breakin' Benjamin style. I have entered the Sandman. In the past 3 years, I've had these awful premonitions about Infinite Warfare, World War II, and Black Ops 4, more or less all being pretty spot on about the quality of the multiplayer in those games. My subjective thoughts, okay? Gustav Cannon is still a good map, but it's weird. I don't get the feeling that there's going to be a catch-22 around every corner of Modern Warfare. And you guys know me, that's a pretty big deal, okay? Now to clarify, I haven't watched the entire reveal yet, so if I get a detail wrong, would you post it down in the... You know what? I'm just going to get spammed either way regardless of this. So let's just get it out of the way now. Warframe is pay to win. Checkmate, atheists. But we're gonna listen and talk about some of the important things from the multiplayer premiere. Look at the information we have on the game, etc. Analyze it, cook it, saute it, and then digest it like we do every year. So with that being said, let's throw on our night vision goggles, suit up in juggernaut armor, and exit life straight into this. One thing that I think is very true about this series, and you know, any business in general, is it's important to be in tune with your roots. Whether you be a multi-billion-dollar film company or an independent video producer such as myself, it's important to stay true to the things that made you what you are. So even though the Call of Duty formula and recipe has been thrown in the blender so many times, despite all the many iterations over the years, its evolution alongside social media and the real world, the franchise first started out as a depiction of war. So when Infinity Ward decides to set their boots in that ground,
boots on the ground,
and start developing Modern Warfare with that framework in mind, that is a fantastic place to start with this game. Call of Duty World War II was the false messiah. That was not a return to what people loved about the series initially. A lot of us old farts out here, especially myself, have a tendency to shit on these newer Call of Duty games, sometimes unfairly, most of the time fairly. And I often forget that there is a younger generation of 7-year-olds who are going to look back on this gory, violence-ridden game as a very integral part of their childhood. There are young gamers out there who haven't experienced the Modern Warfare series and only think of Call of Duty as that game that has a mode that's like Fortnite. So I'm over the fact that this is a reboot reimagining with an unoriginal title. I'm over that. And I understand why they're making the game this way. They are playing off our collective nostalgia, real tough here, throughout this reveal. Operator packs named off of classic missions, Captain Price returning, night vision goggles in the Dark Edition. Although, wait a second, what's that? Exclusive scoop. For me? The goggles? Made entirely out of nylon? One thing I did find interesting right away was I think I heard boots on the ground once or twice in what I watched of this reveal. And it's interesting because that tagline isn't being tossed around nearly at all when describing Modern Warfare, despite how often it was thrown about with COD World War II. You know, they've already exploited nostalgia, quote unquote, with Modern Warfare Remastered, but this time it doesn't feel like exploitation. It feels more genuine, probably because anything that's attached to Infinite Warfare is likely to be mistaken for an aborted fetus. So, the trailers. You want to talk about generating hype? Bam, there you go. It was well cut, hype as fuck. Metallica Remix gives Battlefield 1's Seven Nation Army a run for its money, showed off all the coolest parts of the game from multiple perspectives. It did everything a multiplayer trailer like this is supposed to do. And you gotta love the way the music was mixed and changed between the perspective of the Juggernaut and outside his suit. That was a detail that stuck out to me. I did feel like it was a bit too long, and there's only so many gunshots and explosions I can witness in an action-packed trailer before my brain just starts to melt. I'd like to take this opportunity to segue into the premiere itself. So let's talk about the multiplayer, because some of the things these guys at Infinity Ward talk about are things that I have talked about, and I would like to stroke my own ego a little bit.
Yeah. One of the keys for me is the map design.
What's that? Map design? Did someone mention map design?
Map design.
Here I am, Act Man, ready to go.
you've done such a good job of having the close quarter fights, but as well, if you're a fan of sniping, you can still have those long range fights. How hard has that been, just getting the maps themselves?
Well, it's tricky. I think, we always make maps that we try to support every playstyle. We have all these guns, and we want to make sure that there's a place for snipers, there's a place for close quarters. But in recent games, the titles have been more kind of arena shooter-ish, so that you can kind of rely on these kind of symmetrical 3-lane maps. But when we're trying to make a realistic environment, and you take that realistic environment and you put it on this kind of symmetrical layout, the brain just kind of rejects it and doesn't really feel real.
That's what I've been fucking talking about. They nailed it. They nailed it. Infinity Ward knows what they're doing now. Map design is so important to Call of Duty, and he nails it. The brain rejects it. It's why I felt so weird about COD World War II's maps. It's why I spent so much time talking about them, because my brain was in conflict with the game. It didn't feel real. The multiplayer experience did not feel authentic. It felt like a simulation. Bro, it feels so good to hear the developers acknowledge this point that I and so many others have just been reiterating like broken records. Just map design sucks. Why does it keep sucking? You come up with new maps, the maps still suck. They're the same. It's like Zen mode, baby, Zen mode. I'm Zenyatta. I'm sorry, I had to do face cam for this part. I could not stop myself from grinning when I heard this. These maps look hella sexy, and I already get the impression just from gameplay that they're gonna play way better than anything we've seen in the last 5 years. I know that Call of Duty is a lot more strict in terms of what the designers can get away with in terms of maps, but making the same style over and over again is boring as fuck. So we also learned that yes, this is going to go back to 6v6, the traditional number, which means bigger maps overall, more people to shoot at. There's also going to be a 10v10 and a 20v20 versus mode. 20v20 almost sounds unreal, like unbelievable, in a mode that isn't Battle Royale, I cannot wait to try out that 20v20 mode, but just imagine the possibilities. If we can do this in custom games too, holy jeebus, so many different possibilities to play. I'm glad they're stepping up and increasing the player count. I've wanted that for so long. Modern Warfare is also going to be the first Call of Duty game to test out crossplay, and they'll have this feature called input matching, which means people who are playing on PC, if they're using a mouse and keyboard, and won't match them to players who are using a controller. Grab your hoverboards, cause the future is here. Crossplay is certainly something that benefits all gamers, and years down the line, it's gonna make these games more lively and playable when the number of players starts to decline. So they say there's no season pass.
There's no season pass this year. How is that gonna work?
Obviously, there's gonna be something to replace that, and it's not gonna be good. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I have heard that they're going to be ditching all the stupid crap that was in Black Ops 4. Those stickers and sprays and emotes that nobody gives two shits about. The war paint that looks awful. Just all the garbage content. And more or less focus on the operators. Now, they're probably going to have different skins and whatnot, and I just hope they keep it not so ridiculous as Black Ops 4. No matter how good Modern Warfare looks, you have to wonder what sort of shady shit Activision is going to pull with this game, because it's inevitable. So you got to keep your eyes peeled for that. Throughout this multiplayer premiere, Infinity Ward has constantly talked about variety and map design. They're bringing in night vision goggles, which are going to be useful on certain maps and modes. When you turn them on, you reveal yourself with a laser, kind of like in the old campaign missions. So it's like, when do you use it and when do you turn it off for stealth? Infinity Ward has also talked about interactable doors and more unique map design overall, and these are all good things because it makes the levels themselves replayable. It's kind of like that old Halo 3 Vidoc. These maps need to be fun for the 10th, the 100th, the 1000th time, and this is, in my opinion, the way to do it. And one thing Ghosts really suffered from was there wasn't any modes or a high enough player count to capitalize on the giant maps they made. With this 20v20 mode, you could use some of those old Ghost maps. Don't crucify me. Now, in terms of sound design and graphics, the game is beautiful. Apparently, they recorded the sound effects using multiple microphones to capture the audio from different angles and distances, and that's why it sounds so real. That's why it has that punch to it. Again, Infinity Ward is constantly showing a dedication to realism in every facet of the game. If you listen to the sound effects of the weapons, they are so beefy, manly, They talk about how they're changing the weapons to have more depth and be more realistic. Now, one thing that bugged the absolute shit out of me with Black Ops 4 and some of the newer games is how the guns don't feel like real firearms. You know, almost no recoil, you can basically spec every gun to be a laser beam, and it just doesn't feel authentic. I know it's not trying to be, but the art in Black Ops 4 and the skins are cool. I'm just saying they're way too fucking goofy for my own tastes. And they also discuss leading shots. What? In Call of Duty? This is going to be strange initially, but it's a change I am dying to see. More strategic, thoughtful gameplay. Less laser beams. The Killstreaks look dope, bringing back vehicles. And, you know, when they said they were bringing back Killstreaks, I was like, huh, that's kind of redundant. But then I remembered score streaks are a thing. They're gonna have co-op vehicles, which will be a blast to play with teammates. There was so much cool stuff in this premiere. It's hard to like categorize and talk about all of it without getting far too excited. I mean, the way players entered the map in the beginning, so freaking cool. They get dropped off by a truck and the truck is now part of the map. It's just like, I can't wait to see how this works for every map. Do you like fly in on a helicopter and then the helicopter flies over the map? You know, just cool shit like that to add that extra layer of immersion. We also got leaning, aka mounting. Yes, Call of Duty Ghosts has passed the torch and can now die with a shred of dignity. And you know, people are probably gonna be like, mounting is gonna encourage campers. Well, yeah, it's Call of Duty. There's gonna be campers. It's part of the game. You gotta deal with it. Multiplayer just looks like an absolute blast. This appears to be the Call of Duty game that I have been talking about for so long. Kind of proves to me that what I've talked about is possible. It isn't too outlandish or far-fetched. So now, let's segue to customization. Gunsmithing, hella dope. Alright, I've always felt like Call of Duty could stand to be a bit more tactical in certain areas and still maintain that core simple fun. You know, I can respect the art and effort that went into creating the skins in some of the Black Ops 4 weapons, but I'm just so ready for a Call of Duty game to take itself a little more seriously this time. Now you can also alter your classes in-game, so you can unlock an attachment, put it on your weapon, and then keep playing. I wonder how this will be balanced, or if it will even need to be. You know, there's a lot of Battlefield vibes I'm getting from this game, in good ways. Not that Call of Duty is copying the Battlefield series, but that they're taking elements from it and incorporating it into their own game in their own way. So now they also got operators, which seems somewhat inspired by Rainbow Six Siege because at first glance, they look that way. Pick 10 system is long gone.
Pick 10 is no more.
Yeah.
It is about time we had a change. It's crazy. They're going back to the standard like Modern Warfare system. Old school is back. More focus on the weapon itself. More or less even starts as far as primaries, secondaries, tacticals, and lethals, and 3 perks. I don't know if I heard anything about pro perks, but I hope those return because I love that grind of unlocking just a little bit more versatility with my perks. So as you can see here, there is a lot to work with on the weapons. You have so many choices. And what's so interesting to me is the pros and cons. Attachments don't always make the weapon easier to handle, you know? It goes back to adding more realism to the game. If you put a holographic sight, a stock, bottle opener, strobe light, iPod Touch, blend tech, and a Boeing 747 jet all on your tactical assault rifle, well, it's going to weigh just a little bit more. Maybe slow you down, but those smoothies are going to be fire. The point is, the more shit you have on a gun, the more it weighs and the slower you should move, and it looks like they're actually capitalizing on that and integrating that into the game mechanics. Also, weapon perks are going to return. This is great news to me. When you develop a creative class system that holds hands with progression, that's where the magic and addiction of Call of Duty comes from. And with so many attachments for weapons, there's going to be plenty of room to progress. Speaking of which, allegedly there are 30 to 60 attachments per gun. Now this sounds cool. I'm a little wary because I hope they're able to have some attachments that are entirely exclusive to certain weapons. Black Ops 4 was really dope in that respect because it just makes the guns more interesting. And I hope this is a case of quality and quantity. I love how on the website they're like, in the new Modern Warfare, you'll have the opportunity to choose and express yourself as a number of diverse and named operators.
Shoot a gun, dog. Learn how to fucking shoot a gun, you
fucking riot shield. What else you want me to do?
Oh, riot shield. I'm a pussy that use riot shield.
Rather than special abilities that affect gameplay, each offers their own backstory, nationality, and character dialogue. I can't help but feel Infinity Ward is throwing some not-so-subtle shade towards Treyarch. With the way Modern Warfare is coming out, it just makes Black Ops 4 look so fucking goofy to me. Will these operators be boring and bland who spout exposition that you don't care about who they are and where they came from? Only time will tell. Overall, there were not many negative things I have to say about what I saw in these trailers, this premiere, and this reveal. You all know me, I am not the most optimistic with this franchise, and some have even called me just a, rose-tinted glasses nostalgia fanboy of the old times. But that is not the case. I just know what I want from this franchise. For a long time, I've legitimately thought it was lost down the path of mediocrity. But I have hope now. And that's not to say, this is what we're going to get at launch. There's still a beta to play, there's still time to develop. The game has to be functional upon release. The last 2 games have struggled immensely with that. My expectations are through the roof, but they have a grounded, firm foundation, if that makes sense. So Infinity Ward, you officially stepped up, and we're all waiting with bated breath. I just hope this game doesn't turn out to be a ghost town. So thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, leave a like if you did, and subscribe to The Act Man for more awesome content. Check out my other Modern Warfare videos, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's all I got for today. This is The Act Man signing out. Peace!